Scientists say it is yet another sign of the changing climate, and that it has good and bad consequences for the nation. There could be more fruits and vegetables and also more allergies and pests. To look for nationwide trends, Kunkel compared the first freeze from each of the 700 stations to the station's average for the 20th century. Some parts of the country experience earlier or later freezes every year, but on average freezes are coming later. The average first freeze over the last 10 years, from 2007 to 2016, is a week later than the average from 1971 to 1980, which is before Kunkel said the trend became noticeable. This year, about 40% of the lower 48 states have had a freeze as of October 23, compared to 65% in a normal year, according to Jeff Masters, meteorology director of the private service Weather Underground. Duncan's flowers should be dead by now. According to data from the weather station near her in Ottawa, Illinois, the average first freeze for the 20th century was October 15. The normal from 1981 to 2010 based on NOAA computer simulations was October 19. Since 2010, the average first freeze is on October 26. Last year, the first freeze in Ottawa came on November 12. Last year was way off the charts nationwide, Kunkel said. The average first freeze was 2 weeks later than the 20th century average, and the last frost of spring was 9 days earlier than normal. Overall, the United States freeze season of 2016 was more than a month shorter than the freeze season of 1916. It was most extreme in the Pacific Northwest. Oregon's freeze season was 61 days, 2 months shorter than normal. Global warming has helped push the first frosts later, Kunkel and other scientists said. Also at play, though, are natural short-term changes in air circulation patterns, but they too may be influenced by man-made climate change, they said. This shrinking freeze season is what climate scientists have long predicted, said University of Oklahoma meteorology professor Jason Furtado. Pests that attack trees and spread disease aren't being killed off as early as they normally would be, Crimmins said. In New England, many trees aren't changing colors as vibrantly as they normally do or used to because some take cues for when to turn from temperature, said Boston University biology professor Richard Primock. Clusters of late-emerging monarch butterflies are being found far further north than normal for this time of year, and are unlikely to survive their migration to Mexico. Kevin Trenberth, a climate scientist at the National Center for Atmospheric Research, said natural variability, especially an El Niño, made last year exceptional for an early freeze, but it represents the kind of conditions that will be more routine in a decade or two because of man-made climate change. The long-term consequences are really negative, said Primock, because shorter winters and hotter temperatures are also expected to lead to rising seas that cause worse flooding during heavy storms. In suburban Boston, Primock and his wife are still eating lettuce, tomatoes and green beans from their garden. And they are getting fresh figs off their backyard tree almost daily. These fig trees should be asleep, Primock said. Follow Seth Borenstein on Twitter at @BorenBears. His work can be found here.